October 1st, 331 BCE. The plains near Gaugamela, Mesopotamia. Close your eyes and place yourself there. An open, featureless expanse stretches before you. No terrain to exploit, no natural shelter to fall back on. Across the flat earth, 250,000 Persian soldiers take formation, the most formidable military force the ancient world had ever assembled. To the Persians, the result wasn't even a question. This wasn't an army gathered to contest a battle. It was gathered to administer an ending. At its heart stood Darius III, the ruler every kingdom across Asia had been conditioned to fear, to respect, and above all, to obey. His was the kind of authority that anticipated surrender, not defiance. Opposing him, 47,000 Macedonians, commanded by a king of 25 who had never tasted defeat and had never stood so close to his own destruction. Alexander the Great, outnumbered 5-1. The Persians held cavalry on both wings, scythed chariots at the front, and war elephants in reserve. By every measure ancient strategists recognized, this fight should have ended before the first spear was thrown. And yet, by nightfall, the Persian Empire would be shattered. The King of Kings would abandon his throne, his men, and his dignity, and flee into the dark. Alexander would stand master of Asia. How does an army that had no right to survive end a 500-year empire in a single afternoon? By the time this account concludes, that answer will be clear. And so will the reason it reshaped the ancient world permanently. To truly grasp what happened at Gaugamela, one thing must be understood first. Alexander did not fight wars as campaigns of attrition. He fought every engagement as though there would be no second opportunity. In 334 BCE, he marched into Asia with barely 35,000 men at his back, not to open negotiations, not to probe the edges of Persian power. He crossed to exact retribution for Persia's invasion of Greece and to demonstrate that Macedonia was the premier military force alive. At the Granicus River, he led the charge in person, nearly losing his life when an enemy axe cleaved through his helmet. He survived. The Persian line broke. A year later, at Richest, Darius arrived personally to put an end to it. The terrain hemmed both armies in, stripping Persia's numerical advantage to nothing. Alexander spotted the king and drove straight at him. Darius turned and rode away, abandoning his family, his war chest, and his soldiers in the dust. Alexander didn't simply win engagements. He destroyed the legitimacy of those who stood against him. After Issus, momentum swung decisively. Tyre refused to yield and was wiped from the map after 7 unrelenting months. Egypt welcomed him without a fight and placed a pharaoh's crown on his head. Every triumph followed the same logic, sharp, personal, and absolute. But one figure remained undefeated. Darius was alive. He still governed the core of the empire. And now, he was adapting. By 331 BCE, Darius understood that terrain had betrayed him at Ishus. Narrow ground had neutralized his numbers. He would not allow that mistake twice. This time, he selected the battlefield himself, Gaugamela. Wide, level, virtually endless. A place where cavalry could sweep around an enemy's flanks. A place where sheer numbers could finally decide things. Darius was convinced Alexander's run of fortune had reached its limit. That charging recklessly at a king wouldn't save him a second time. Alexander held a different conviction entirely. That battles turned on one moment, seeing the enemy's commander and shattering him. And that achieving that moment at Gaugamela would demand staking everything on a single decision. He was willing to make it. September 30th, the camp of Darius. The king felt the balance of the world tipping toward him. His scheme was methodical. The chariots would fracture the Macedonian center. Cavalry would devour the flanks. And when Alexander was exposed and isolated, the empire would extinguish him. In the Macedonian camp, several senior officers pressed for a night assault, strike before the trap could close. Alexander rejected the idea without hesitation. I will not steal victory like a common thief. He wanted Darius to look him in the eye, to meet him in full daylight, and to lose in full view. That night, Alexander walked the battlefield alone. He studied the terrain Darius had chosen and trusted, and in its contours he identified exactly where it would give way. October 1st. Dawn. Regard the Persian formation. This is not merely an army. It is an empire issuing a challenge to the world. 250,000 warriors, drawn from every province of the known world. Cavalry from Bactria and Scythia, bred to the saddle since birth. Infantry from Babylon, Media, Syria, and India. Disparate tongues, disparate traditions, all placed under a single command. In front, 200 scythed chariots, blades extending from their wheels, engineered to carve through infantry formations. Behind them, war elephants from India, living battering rams designed to obliterate cohesion before the real killing even started. At the center, Darius III, surveying the field he had hand-picked. On the Persian left, Bessus led the elite Bactrian and Scythian cavalry, swift, fierce, positioned to annihilate the opposing flank. On the right, Macedon commanded Syrian and Mesopotamian horsemen, anchoring the other wing. This is what total imperial power assembles. Now look across. 47,000 Macedonians and Greeks. No deep reserves. No buffer. No room for error. In the center, the phalanx. 31,000 heavy infantrymen, shoulder to shoulder, holding 18-foot sarissas, a grinding wall of iron and discipline. Behind them, 9,000 lighter troops, skirmishers, archers, and rapid assault infantry, mobile and adaptable, trained to blunt chariot charges and exploit what the phalanx cannot reach. On the wings, 7,000 cavalry. On the right, Alexander personally led the companion cavalry, his sharpest instrument, ready to deliver the killing stroke. On the left, Parmenion commanded the defensive flank, charged with absorbing punishment, while Alexander dismantled the battlefield on the opposite side. Alexander rode along the front of his formation and halted. He addressed the men directly. Look at them. They fight for wages. They fight because they are told to. You fight because this ground belongs to those willing to hold it. Behind us is Greece, and no road home exists that doesn't pass through today. Ahead is a king who believes mass determines destiny. Show him what discipline determines. Hold the line. Follow where I ride. If I fall, do not stop. Better to die here than to live knowing we let fear make the decision for us. A beat of silence. Then shields crashed together. Spears struck bronze. Not jubilation, resolution. A sound rolled across the Macedonian line that carried no celebration in it, only purpose. The Persian wings extended so far beyond Alexander's line that encirclement was not a threat. It was the opening move. Alexander had one viable response: act first. So he did. Rather than advancing straight forward, he steered his entire line gradually rightward, away from the leveled ground Darius had prepared. From the outside, it resembled an error, the kind of error that gets an army swallowed whole. But Bessus, commanding the Persian left, recognized the danger at once. Alexander wasn't targeting the center. He was attempting to slide past it. Bessus stretched his cavalry outward to match the drift, pulling